Story 1. No joy in anything. Going through the motions. I would like to sleep forever. Hanging around for the children. Story 2. It's Sunday. For the longest time, you have been desiring a steak, mashed potatoes with gravy, and a big salad. Sunday night. The steak is prepared beautifully. Everything else is made to perfection. You sit down and suddenly remember no one bothered to say happy birthday or even acknowledge the day. You look at the steak, the potatoes, the gravy, and the salad with absolute disgust. You have lost your appetite. You leave the food and instead choose to go to bed. That is depression. Story 3. One symptom I had years ago was that it felt like my own brain was screaming at me. I would feel it sometimes, and it went on for years. Antidepressants eventually helped that go away. Has anyone else felt this? Story 4. Losing interest in the activities I enjoyed and having little to no motivation to do anything with my life. Story 5. I believe it varies from person to person, but for me, it is physical fatigue accompanied by an absence of interest in anything in the world. It is as though something inside me is forcing me to stop daily activities to look at myself, to examine and find the issue. Story 6. Like nothing is worth doing, nothing is enjoyable, no energy to do any of the unpleasant tasks, do not want to be awake, cannot sleep, lying there doing nothing feels like being in pain, but actually doing things makes it worse. Try to get up and you get drained immediately, lie right back down instead of making it to the bathroom, kitchen, or anywhere else. Story 7. Having struggled with depression for most of my life, here is how I would describe it. Feels like nothing, but the nothing is heavy. You are tired and joyless. You feel guilty for being so miserable and unbelievably sad but cannot pinpoint why. It is a feeling of emptiness combined with emotions that are too heavy to bear. You feel nothing and everything at the same time. Story 8. When you would rather be dirty than take the time to shower because you feel there is no point in being clean, or because even a shower will require all your energy for the day. Ladies, if you notice a change in behavior after changing your birth control method, take action. Myrina completely changed my life for several months. It was awful. Story 9. I felt like I was in a deep, dark well with no way out. I could barely see the light, and I knew I did not want to stay in it, but I could feel myself slipping back into it. Story 10. Like I am a bystander in my own life. No control. Constantly thinking about mistakes in the past while being anxious about the future. Paralyzed. Aimless. Zero interest in anything. Not living, just existing. Not thriving, merely surviving. Avoid relationships. Self-doubt. No confidence. Fantasize about voluntary euthanasia but could never surrender my cat. Clock in, clock out. Darkness. Melancholy. Spend too much time wanting to be asleep or experiencing insomnia. An immediate rush of despair upon awakening. Loveless. Lonely. Story 11. Just a hole that cannot be filled. You cannot buy anything to make it go away, nor can people take the pain away. Story 12. You feel happy, and for no reason at all, your mood drops, and you do not want to interact with anyone. Story 13. Sleepy, my eyes want to close. When there is really good news, I feel a dopamine shot, but it quickly goes back to sleepiness. Story 14. I do not know if this is depression. I just remember I was empty. So empty that all I wanted was to sleep and never wake up. Mornings meant nothing. I had no reason to get up. No purpose. No feeling. Not even the will to shower. I just lay there, rotting in bed, waiting to die. If someone offered me millions in exchange for my soul, I would sell it in a second and send the money to my parents. They were the reason why I did not end it all, because I have not completely repaid them for raising me. But life does not work that way. I can only struggle, still directionless, with no idea where to go, basically just going with the flow. If I die, then I die. If I do not, then I do not. Story 15. Losing interest in everything you love to do and having no energy to do anything. Sometimes you do not even want to leave the house. Story 16. Exhaustion. Stuck in the in-between. Sometimes I picture myself sitting on the floor in the corner. I am screaming so hard, but no sound is coming out. Story 17. An empty feeling. Not being able to sleep yet being so tired, wanting to cry but cannot, and just feeling like I am on autopilot. I am sick of it. Story 18, you should aim to be better today compared to who you were yesterday, even if it is 0.1% better. Depression is the complete opposite of that. Story 19, bipolar 2 depression is one of the most severe forms of depression a person can experience. During bipolar depression, I cannot stand up to walk to the bathroom. Sometimes, I cannot even lift a finger. I am just frozen like a statue. I may need to use the bathroom for hours, but I cannot move, so I have to hold it in. When I can walk and move, it feels like I am wading through peanut butter. I feel soulless, just pure emptiness, and motor function is nearly impossible. It is as if the force of gravity is quadrupled. It feels like I am stuck, falling into an endless, dark void in my mind, and I have forgotten how to move my body. It is hard to describe a bipolar 2 depressive episode. There are no words for that experience. Story 20. Not wanting to do anything but maybe sit or lie in bed and watch television. However, I do not even want to turn the television on, so I just stare at the blank screen until I realize 20 minutes have passed. Story 21. I think Jim Carrey said it well. The difference between depression and sadness is that sadness is just from happenstance. Whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or grief or whatever it is, depression is your body saying, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you created. And the world is too much for me. Story 22. My mind is just too full. It won't switch off. In turn, it makes me feel exhausted, and I just want to curl up. Story 23. Fatigue. Eyes feeling like they are on the verge of closing even though you are wide awake. Forcing a smile or a half-hearted laugh to make the people around you think all is well, so they will not ask, what is going on? Even if you desperately want to get it out. Story 24. Like I am encased in plexiglass, unable to reach or be reached by anyone. I can see what is happening around me, but it might as well be happening on another planet. Story 25. There were hundreds of things I should be doing, but I did not have the energy for even one. I fought to do the bare minimum day by day and never recovered, while guilt and self-loathing weighed me down more and more. Story 26. It feels like someone turned my blood into concrete. There are times when it is physically painful to try to do anything. Story 27. Can't get out of bed. The bed starts to get uncomfortable. Scroll on my phone for hours for no reason other than hoping time has passed. What should I eat? Hungry, wait, no, I'm not. Am I though? When did I last eat? Smile at work for 40 hours. Try not to break down every morning when I wake up. Sleep? Oh, you mean bad dreams all night. Something along those lines. Story 28. When I do an activity, I enjoy it. Getting myself to the point of doing the activity can feel like an insurmountable mountain every time. Staying in bed always feels like the better option, as I am forever tired. Story 29. If anyone is struggling with mental health, please reach out to me. I am not a professional, but I am someone you can talk to. Story 30. Some people go to bed and have a nightmare. I have the reverse. I wake up from a nice sleep to find myself in a nightmare. Story 31. It feels like reality. Like the good moments are temporary and the inconveniences and bad ones are the default. It is like knowing you should see things differently, but no matter how hard you try, doing so makes your reality feel like a lie. Something or everything about your life just is not right or true. So you sit there filled with disgust for your situation and towards yourself because you do not know how to change it or convince yourself to see things differently. You cannot tell what is worse, your perception of the world or the world's perception of you. Story 32. Personally, it feels as if all my thoughts fall into rivers of bad emotions, as if every thought is thrown into an undercurrent of negativity or resignation. Everything loses its meaning, and I feel that nothing is worth fighting for, or I simply do not have the strength for that fight at the moment. Story 33. Feeling like I am overwhelmed. No motivation for anything or excitement when I am stuck. I feel abandoned, and no matter how much I try to scream or express my pain, it makes no difference at all. Every small step out of that state feels like a massive stride. Story 34. To shut yourself away from people and bring all the bad thoughts to the front as they have been festering long enough in your head. The feeling of dread and knowing your life will not be getting better and the medication is not working for you. Then you can look forward to the dreaded electroconvulsive therapy, also known as shock therapy, to try and bring you out of it. It works sometimes but not often. Story 35. I have started to withdraw from people, including my partner. Talking on the phone to others is painful. I am not normally like this with my loved ones, so I am aware of the change. Story 36. It feels as though everyone is playing the same video game as me, but halfway through my controller disconnected, and everyone else is too busy playing their own game to help. There are days when I feel as if I am screaming at a version of myself on screen, shouting, "Get up, get dressed. You have to go to work. We did it yesterday." But the commands that worked yesterday suddenly do not work today, and I cannot get off the couch no matter how many times I tell myself to. Story 37. Emptiness even when life is not. Loneliness when you are not alone. Sadness when everyone else is happy. Story 38. Pure apathy, like I am always running on 5%. Too exhausted in my mind to socialize or to get out. In my mind, nobody cares. They do not want to hear what I have to say. Depression is a burden that, by association, makes me feel that I am a burden myself. Story 39. Like I am stuck in a deep well, and the light and the way out are forever out of reach. The ever-present feeling of darkness closing in on you. Story 40. Like a ball and chain on a rainy day in 40-degree weather without a coat, and the lights are out at every house on the block. Story 41. Like the Linkin Park song, "Why is everything so heavy?" It feels as if your bones are made of lead and you are being pulled into the floor. Story 42. I do not feel like I need to cry ever. I am not sad like that. However, I do feel like gravity has been turned way up, and it is extremely exhausting to fight against it to move around. My bones just feel creaky and tired. Story 43. I have posted this before, but it applies. Is anyone else actually incapable of imagining a future for themselves? It is like the idea of a future is so absurd that it feels unbelievable. I am almost 33, and it feels like I have been on autopilot for years now. No destination in mind, just waking up every day and piloting this flesh sack around, trying to find some sort of meaning or fulfillment. I feel more like a ghost than a person. When I am in public, I see other people with their friends or children, simply experiencing what it means to be human, and I envy that. Story 44. Like walking through a swamp, not knowing how deep the water is with your next step. You slip and fall deep into cold, dark water. It made me anxious and wary of everything. Story 45. For me, it starts as heavy tiredness, but once I get used to the feeling and think it is gone, one minor inconvenience or even a sad song sends me to absolute tears. Story 46. For me, it was the absence of feeling. One day, it just dawned on me that I did not remember the last time I felt happy. Our situation had improved. The stressful situation my family had been in was resolved. But my mind's default was now just numb. I did not even enjoy food. I just could not get excited about all the things I used to love. I am getting better, but it is slow. Story 47. Bleakness. I had a bout of depression some years ago which lasted perhaps a month or so. What I remember of it was a crushing lack of joy or motivation. I would start up my favorite video game or movie, then turn it off a few seconds later and try something else. Nothing brought joy. It was just bleakness, but the worst part was knowing it wasn't right. It was like an overcast of the soul. The one bright spot was my best friend. He would come into the room to tell me about something he was excited about, and for a few precious minutes it was like the sun came out again and I would feel again. Depression is very difficult. I got out of it, but only because mine had an actual cause I was able to address. I feel for my friends who have it chronically. Story 48. Like walking in the dark, trying to find the light switch and being unable to find the wall or switch. Story 49. A loathing of myself and a feeling that I deserved every bad thing. I should set myself on fire, except that might put me out of my misery, and I do not even deserve that. Story 50, hopeless. Misery is the only state of being. Nothing will ever get better, no matter what I do. So why bother? Story 51, emptiness. The will to be alive was gone. A constant reminder of how I failed everyone. Always remember you matter. Your existence matters. The beautiful world you live in deserves you. There are people who deserve you. I came out of this stronger, and so can you. Story 52. I agree with feeling tired all the time for no apparent reason. No motivation to do anything. Lonely. I think if I had a significant other just in the same space as me, it would help. It is comforting. I need that in my life. I need to be comforted. Story 53. A deep well of fire and rage that cannot go out without justice or vengeance. I have learned to forge it into a cold singularity that exists and can be fed, quieted, or unleashed. I can draw passion from it to get things done, but it does not go away. Story 54. It is like an anchor tied around me, making every movement an effort. The weight lifts and you try to make the most of the weight-free environment because you know it is only temporary, and the anchor is always ready to drop. It is hell, frankly. Story 55. It feels like I am randomly at the bottom of the ocean, looking around at the darkness crushing me from all sides. Comes and goes, but when it comes, I feel absolutely worthless, and every last breath seems like a mistake. Luckily, it does not last too long. Maybe a few hours, then I am myself again. My advice is to keep experiencing pleasant things when it happens, like sunlight, good food, or nice smells. Anything that brings you joy. Before you know it, a smile will actually mean something again. Stay strong, brother. This is the way. Story 56. Gray mist. You can distract yourself from it with a form of entertainment or an activity for a while. But the gray mist waits to envelop you again. Story 57. I feel physically stuck. When I am in my bedroom, it feels like there is an invisible chain to my bed. And even when I get up, there is an invisible electric fence before my front door. I feel like I cannot talk to anyone because I think no one wants to talk to me. They are all enjoying their busy, fun, fulfilling lives. When I have to go to work or attend social events, I feel invisible and like nobody can see me. Story 58. It is like a heavy blanket covering you. You feel weighted down. Moving takes effort, and everything feels dull and uninteresting. You see something funny, and you laugh. You tell someone you love them, and you know you do, but you can hardly feel those things. You are just dull. Story 59. A foggy gray cloud filled with dread and hopelessness. A chain that keeps you tied to your bed, heavy and tired. It's like you're here but playing life through a video game. You are outside a house looking through a window watching everyone live. Your days are mixed up and colliding together, just like short films appear. It's like your body is slowly decaying and no one sees it, even with all the signs. Your thoughts are clouded with death, like it's whispering in your ear, constantly following you. Your bones feel heavy and stiff, and your eyes have no light. You try to grasp hope, but it slips through your hands, and now you're just sinking in your bed, decaying like you would in a coffin. Story 60. My first major depression hit me a few weeks before my son's second birthday. Couldn't look forward. Making plans was impossible. I felt a lot of hopelessness, dread, and fragility. Since then, I have been taking sertraline for the past 8 years. It works very well for me. It took a long time to be able to look forward to upcoming events, holidays, and special occasions, but now I embrace them. Story 61. Nothing ever feels exciting. You just go through the motions. You are never present in the moments of life. I would go so far as to say mine includes a lack of pure empathy. I show it, but I do not really feel it genuinely. Story 62. It's like an eternal headache, a fog that will not lift. I can see through it if I focus, like the eye of a hurricane the size of a soda straw. But focusing takes energy, and I am very tired. Tinnitus of the mind. Story 63. I have bouts of mild depression but suffer from anxiety and panic. I always feel tense with low self-esteem and low self-confidence. I am a people pleaser. All these feelings combined make me feel empty and numb, Yet I still panic. I overthink everything I have ever said and done. I continue to work and laugh, but people say my eyes look empty. I do not sleep. Story 64. Like someone is piling weighted blankets on me repeatedly. My brain works but prefers to stay hidden. Story 65. Like the world would be better if I were not in it. That I am a waste of space and want to cease to exist. Tiredness and hopelessness. Story 66. Because I mostly have the emotional side under control when it surfaces, these days it is that sense of, I know I am okay, but there is this thing, and it is always tapping away. Not being able to find the trigger is even more frustrating. Story 67. I feel tired and like I cannot move. I feel like I do not see the point anymore. I laugh and pretend everything is okay. But it is not. Nobody knows I am depressed. In fact, when I seem my happiest is often when I am at my lowest. Story 68. Emptiness, indifference, deep anhedonia. Knowing what I need to do to feel better, being physically capable to every degree, and feeling stuck. Putting on a mask to do what I need to do to get by, then going home and dissociating. Feeling disconnected from myself. Because I intellectualize things and cannot seem to feel them due to numbness. Comes and goes in waves. I have had multiple depressive episodes since I was a child, each seeming more intense than the last. I have a fulfilling and safe life now and had hoped that growing up, moving away, being successful, and finding love would ease the pain, but it has followed me as I age. I am still working on it, but it is hard to imagine feeling like this for the rest of my life. I used to struggle with passive suicidal ideation, but antidepressants and talking to people save lives. I have many reasons to keep going. It is just hard to connect with others to explain the depth of the pain and sadness I sometimes feel. I wish I could put them in my body and let them feel this too, just to be understood in a way words cannot express. Story 69. This is not my quote, so I will probably butcher it. I thought it was a brilliant capture wherever it was first said. Depression is like being a spectator in your own life. Like you are a bystander watching the world unfold before you. Everything else is growing, moving, pushing forward, and you are just sitting there wishing you could get back in the game from the sidelines, but you just cannot. No one is stopping you. Nothing is preventing you from being active in your own existence, yet you find yourself unable to move. Paralysis of the body, mind, and soul while you watch life pass you by. Story 70. It feels like being underwater without necessarily drowning. Everything is muted and heavy. Everyone else is on a boat on the surface having fun, while you are stuck underneath watching them pass by. Story 71. Like wading through treacle, like having a large stone in your chest, like everything is heavy, like viewing life through a thick fog. It is almost tangible. Story 72. Losing interest in the things I used to enjoy. I haven't eaten anything since waking up this morning, but still don't have any appetite for dinner. I felt full, but my stomach was actually empty. I have been sleeping all day, feeling tired for no reason. I felt so alone, and everyone seemed like a stranger. No words gave me comfort. They want me to pray. They want me to let go. They want me to go out and do something to redirect my attention. But they are always unavailable whenever I ask if they can go out with me. If they do spend time with me, they are mostly on their phones. People say things just to make themselves feel better, but it didn't help me in any way. Losing hope. P.S. I got myself a therapist. It helped. They don't judge you because they are basically a stranger, so there is no bias. No unsolicited advice. They know when to listen and when to give advice. Story 73. Imagine having an emotion that is the opposite of motivation. Some people struggle through it, but for some, at certain times, it can be impossible to overcome. Today, I am depressed. I don't feel like working on any of my projects. And there is nothing but mindless videos that distract me from my own helplessness. When I am not overwhelmed, I invest in a cause, but I am not just depressed. Depression is like cancer. It evolves and creates anxieties. It is a real fight. Imagine that you will never feel accomplished or successful, or that you will never have a family. Your happiness is hidden, and all you know is the end. Story 74. Bored. Nothing sounds worth doing. I just mean normal depression ruts, not clinical imbalances. Story 75. Imagine having a good day. No problems, everything goes right. Peaceful content, whatever your idea of a good day is. Now depression is the complete opposite, with no hope of ever seeing that good day again. Story 76. Like nothing. Numbness. Heaviness. Tired. Sadness is at least an emotion. Depression is nothing. I feel like many people confuse sadness or grief with depression. Story 77. Numb and empty. Even if something drastic is happening in my life, I wouldn't move or do anything to help or improve the situation, which is different from what I used to do. Story 78. Fatigue. Then a decline in executive function and an increase in irritability. Then, hopefully, I realize and get help before I start the final slide. That begins with thinking everyone would be better off without me, goes through self-sabotage to prove me right. Then I reach the stage of wanting to end my life. I have been through all these stages many times. Last time, I didn't even reach self-sabotage before realizing the downward slope I was on. So I am proud of myself for getting help while it could still actually help. Also, for those reading this who are deep in it, keep going. And if anyone criticizes you for taking medication, just ask them if they would be telling a diabetic to go for a walk in the woods instead of taking insulin. Not because it will fix their attitude, but watching the mental gymnastics and physical discomfort might brighten your day just a little bit. Story 79. You know when your parents promise to buy you something and they don't? The feeling of being disappointed in everything and everyone. Story 80. A couple of years ago, my psychologist told me that I had the beginnings of depression. I only attended 2 sessions because one was family therapy and the other was individual. In the end, it did not go well and we all dropped out. I think I am still in that phase. There are days when I feel very sad, especially when I am alone or going to sleep. I do not feel like doing anything, and later I see how the hours have passed. It is horrible and frustrating. Story 81. Like a dark fog following me, I can feel it coming. When it catches up with me, it tangles itself through my brain, weaving its way in until I cannot think, cannot read, cannot tell the time. It drains the colors from my world. It wants me to focus on it and nothing else. It does not want me to go outside, to socialize, or to like or love myself. It takes the joy from everything and replaces it with apathy and anxiety. Story 82. Like looking for a light switch in a pitch-black room, except there is no light switch, and your hope slowly fades until you are just a piece of consciousness floating through the motions of life. Story 83. You just wake up and look for reasons to continue. You do not feel good or bad, and suddenly you want to escape from everything and go away. In the end, you realize that you are still there. Story 84. Fatigue but unable to sleep, staring into space for hours without realizing it, feeling like I am wrapped up in a 200-kilogram blanket. Story 85. Depression feels like this. A 37-year-old, unemployed for 2 years, with no house and a 2008 old car. No friends. Income so low that you can barely afford basic food. Paying child support for a child you have not seen for 9 years, since she was 1 year old. If you miss a payment or are late by even 1 month, the police come looking for you. Living each day with nothing good or positive happening in a small town where nothing changes. Watching movies and series that no longer thrill you as they once did. Hearing local news that only talks about problems, how your country is sinking into debt and unemployment, while a few enjoy happy lives full of abundance. Story 86. Just me. Genuinely, I have felt all levels and symptoms of depression for as long as I can remember, along with anxiety. It is hard to explain how I feel to therapists because I know something is wrong with me, but I cannot explain what it is since I do not have any past references of feeling normal. The amount of dismissive comments I have had to hear over the years does not help. You are too young for that. Well, that would only be in rare cases. We do not know how to test transgender individuals. On top of therapists and doctors choosing to try new medications on me from the beginning without starting speech therapy or building a profile first. I have had severe side effects from every mental health medication I have taken so far, and doctors wanted to keep changing them every 2 weeks. This exact experience happens with my chronic pain and inflammation too. No one knows what is wrong, and they cannot help me anymore. I ran out of money and gave up for now. Story 87. It is like pedaling a bike that is always on the highest gear. Or like those dreams where you are trying to do something or go somewhere, putting in a lot of effort, but you never get there and do not understand why. I know I need to do the dishes. I know how to do the dishes. I have thought 100 times, I need to do the dishes, and nothing happens. It is absurd. Sometimes it feels like breathing some kind of poisonous gas that makes you dazed and tired and does not affect anyone else. Story 88. It feels like you are trying to escape, and when the things you rely on for happiness change, you feel like you are drowning. Story 89. Like putting locks on different parts of my brain until I become numb and cannot identify which feeling is causing me to suffer at the moment. In short, it is simply misery. Story 90. If you can feel it, then it is not depression. It is just nothingness, void. Reason to live? Nothing. What are you crying for? Nothing. What makes you so tired and fatigued? Nothing. What makes you so angry and irritated? Nothing. Why do you have no motivation? Nothing. It is a double-edged sword that gives you many cuts with literally nothing. Story 91. I have had depression my whole life, caused by severe anxiety. It is different for me because it is caused by anxiety, which makes me feel tired all the time, both mentally and physically. Feels like nothing really matters. I will sleep more than 15 hours a day. It is terrible and gets worse for about a month every 3 months. Story 92. I don't have an official diagnosis, but it feels like I'm waiting for things to just end and pass without actually enjoying any moment. I wake up and wish for the day to end so I can get it over with. I meet up with friends as a chore so that I don't feel guilty about pushing them away. I interact and socialize to appear normal, all the while begging for the interaction to end. Feels like I'm an alien. I act and match people's energies to show that nothing is wrong, then break when I'm finally alone, feeling completely numb and empty or feeling overwhelmingly overstimulated from all the interactions that I can't think straight. It is shattering when I see other people living normally and realize for a brief moment that what I'm going through isn't actually normal. I see people laugh over small things and have to fake a laugh while feeling nothing inside. I see people want small things like snacks, new clothes, decorations, and feel like none of those things really matter, wondering what is wrong with me. I also think that I'm not worth anything. I'm not worth the love people give me, nor any affection, kindness, or presence. I don't deserve to be loved. People are better off without me. I keep having passive suicidal thoughts. I keep thinking that I wouldn't mind getting hit by a passing car to get things over with. I hate when I finally start to think that I'm getting better and then get dragged back to rock bottom for no reason whatsoever. I try to force myself to do my hobbies and take care of myself, and I sometimes manage to, but it feels like dragging my feet to get up and do those things. It feels like seeing myself from a third-person perspective while doing them. A moment of, hey, I'm actually trying to better myself. I'm doing so well. And then I feel the presence of a constant dark looming figure at the back of my mind that just stands there observing my attempts to get better and laughs. Plus, the compilation of emotions. Anger, guilt, numbness, emptiness. Story 93. Right now, it feels like I am antisocial. I close the curtain and lock myself in my bedroom. I am not hungry, and I cannot sleep until morning. Story 94. Not being good enough. In a restaurant, tears poured down my face as I stared out the window at some flowers. Flowers that seemed too beautiful for me to look at. I felt I was not good enough to be in their presence or to look at them. It is like this every time the mania fades and the depression takes over. I feel too gross and disgusting to look at beautiful or pretty things. Story 95. It is a black pit from which shadowy versions of yourself appear to beat you up and curse at you for being worthless. Yet it is also like a bathtub where, if you simply walk out of it or unplug the drain below, you can slowly get out of that pit. Story 96. Recently, I'm not crying at anything, no matter what happens. If anyone knows me, they would know it's concerning because I cry at everything. A 30-second staged video on Reels to real-life wholesome moments. I cry when I am angry, sad, scared, happy, or overwhelmed. Pretty much everything. My way of expressing is tears, but I have become so numb and tired. If anyone says anything, I go silent. If someone fights me, I give in and agree with what they are saying. I am just tired. If I am sad, I doom scroll until I forget what I was sad about. Nothing evokes real happiness. If I am scared, I eat. Nothing can make me cry, and I desperately want to. I feel like I have forgotten how to. Story 97. Same tiredness, loneliness, and heaviness as it was 10 years ago. However, you are quieter, more resigned, and numb in a way. Story 98. Tired all the time. No energy or desire to do anything that interests me. Everything feels like a chore, feeling like a burden on others. So I keep to myself and hide away, putting on fake smiles at work because showing depression makes others uncomfortable, living off microwave food or snacks because they do not require preparation time or extra cleanup. My brain screams at me that I need to do things, but my body is too paralyzed to act because actually doing them feels overwhelming and pointless. Story 99. Depression feels like you are at the bottom of a well. You can see a small light at the top, but clouds and rain often cover it. There is no rope, and nobody has been by to look in. Weeks and months go by, and you still see the same hole at the top, but nothing changes. Story 100. Your heart hurts, but there is no physical pain. Your body feels heavy, but you are not carrying extra weight. Colors are dull, sounds are muted. Everything is just noise. Nothing excites you, nothing motivates you. You just exist, stuck in a not quite vegetative state. It is a truly awful experience, one that recurs for me every few months. Story 101. Nothing is interesting. Nothing matters. Why bother? Nobody likes me. I never hear from anyone. I am never invited. They all roll their eyes when I come by. Story 102. Apathy. Not feeling like getting out of bed. Not feeling like eating. Not feeling like showering. Knowing that you should study or look for a job or do something, but you just do not. To me, it is not sadness. Just a quiet desperation that slowly eats you up. Story 103. Like the whole world is on fire and I am the one the world is blaming. Like nobody loves me at all and I am alone in all of this. There is no point in looking forward to anything. The list goes on. Story 104. There are two voices inside me. One is myself, the other is my brain. My brain constantly reminds me that the only logical and most ethical way to sort things out is by ending my life. I would do everyone a favor, and it feels as right as returning a dropped wallet to an elderly woman or saving a kitten from a ditch. The reminder is unceasing, like a morning alarm clock telling me, it is time. All I can do is hit the snooze button for a brief 5-minute rest before it starts over again. Every waking hour I have to fight against my brain. Every second that I am alive feels like committing a crime. I will eventually have to surrender myself. The time is ticking. The only respite I can find is by sleeping it off. Story 105. Depression is the absence of joy, motivation, and anticipation. It makes you feel like there is no point in doing anything. Depression is emptiness. Story 106. Numbness with the occasional throb of pain in your chest when you think of what could have been, even if it was impossible. Story 107. Imagine that all of your emotions are reduced to almost nothing. There is no profound sadness, just an overall lack of any real intensity in your baseline emotions. Story 108. Laziness. I am quite smart for my age and score incredibly high on standardized testing. In fact, I score the highest in mathematics and English language arts for my entire 7th through 12th grade school. However, I feel as if there is no point in it all. I get horrible grades and sleep during lessons. I cannot see myself living past 13 anyway. Story 109. Normal. I don't know what it is supposed to feel like despite being told I had it. I still live my normal life. Story 110. Waking up alone. Numb. Going to a job I hate. Numb. Experiencing sexual harassment by my manager and not having the energy to care. Numb. Coming home to an empty house. Numb. Thankfully, I am on better medication. I quit that job and moved back home. 20 years old, already been through the ringer. Story 111. I do not get to enjoy anything anymore. My mind will not let me be happy for very long, sometimes just a few moments or hours. Then I remember everything that is hurting me, and I drown in it over and over, day after day. Story 112. Why bother? You are not good at everything, so why not just scroll through social media on your phone in bed all day? Story 113. For me, it is cannot move, too much to think about. Cannot think, too much to cry about. Cannot cry, have not been drinking fluids. Cannot drink fluids, have been crying myself sick. I am fine for 20 minutes or a day. Repeat. Story 114. Not enjoying the things I once enjoyed. Just going through the motions with my family. Zero empathy for those I interact with. Living day to day in isolation. Story 115. Overall, very numb. Wake up and go through the days on autopilot. Every interaction I have feels like a performance on my part. I have lost interest in everything I used to like or be passionate about. Most of the time, the only feeling I have is not belonging on Earth. Story 116. Hi, hopefully my comment will be beneficial for someone struggling out there. First of all, answering your question, I felt numb most of the time. I was diagnosed with persistent depressive disorder. Believe me, if I hadn't gone to a psychiatrist back then, I wouldn't have believed that I had mild depression for years. From the outside to my family and friends, I seemed normal, but I was burning out inside. I'm an introvert and don't like sharing a lot with others, even those closest to me. Until one day, something happened that triggered all the unhealed childhood traumas, and I had the worst mental breakdown of my life. Fortunately, my neighbor was alert that I wasn't all right and opened her house to me. She booked me a session with her psychiatrist. From that day, I have never stopped going to therapy, although I didn't used to believe in it due to a bad experience. The moral of the story is, if you feel like you are struggling mentally, go find a certified psychiatrist. Never lose hope in finding a good one. Take care of yourself. No one else will feel or believe your struggle if they are not in your shoes. Story 117. Everything seems like a chore. Nothing brings joy. All you want to do is sleep to find rest from this realm. Story 118. One of the key indicators is that you cannot imagine feeling different later than you do now. The main issue is the lack of joy. Robert Sapolsky said it is worse than cancer because you will see terminal patients laughing with their families, but depression robs you of the ability to experience happiness. Story 119. Every little thing feels like climbing a mountain. Brushing your teeth, doing laundry, showering, fixing a meal. All just feel like insurmountable obstacles. Forget being productive at work because you spent all your energy just getting out the door. Story 120. In a mental fog, always fatigued, almost a warm, sick feeling all over the body, mostly feeling alone or misunderstood. Story 121. Some days I wake up and I just do not want to do anything. I do not even want to play games or watch television. Everything feels pointless and boring, and I do not have the energy to do any of it anyway. This could last for a few hours, a whole day, or even a few days, and I might feel totally fine as soon as it passes. It just comes without warning and then leaves without me feeling like I am getting any better until I just am. I cannot explain it any more than that, except that I know if I drink alcohol when I feel that way, I will end up feeling many times worse when I come down from it. Story 122. I feel like every day is a routine, a loop, a tired loop, getting more and more tired with each task. Nothing seems to make sense, things lose their meaning, and everything you do seems robotic. The normal thought of what am I going to eat today almost seems not to exist. You don't even feel hunger coming. Nothing seems interesting, and sometimes you lose focus on reality while getting stuck in thoughts. Most of these are horrible memories or things that may seem insignificant, like something you said to someone, but at that moment it felt as if you had harmed someone. This runs through your head until you notice that you haven't slept and haven't even seen time pass. This is what I usually go through. Story 123. For me, I became emotionally numb and it was awful. I was out trying to enjoy a day with friends, but the entire time, I couldn't feel anything. Story 124. Fatigue, Irritability, guilt about the irritability. I went through a huge episode this year, completely isolating myself from everyone and not opening up to my spouse about anything because I felt terrible for being so irritable with everyone who tried to talk to me. I felt like I didn't deserve them, so I spared them the pain of talking to me by cutting them off. I'm lucky that my spouse and close friends stuck around because they recognized what I was doing. I'm grateful for them. Story 125. Feels suffocating. I can barely breathe. I do not want to do anything because I am so tired in all aspects. Mentally, physically, and more. I feel defeated before I take any action. I do not know what to do. Story 126. Small, like life is folding in on itself, but you are too exhausted to care or do anything about it. Story 127. Tired, heavy, unstructured, no motivation, feeling guilty because of it. Anything done feels like a huge effort. Need to sleep. No feelings, even though I know I should have them. Story 128. It feels like I am either sleepy or speeding. Also, I am not smiling. Nothing triggers any emotion in me. Story 129. Exhausting, isolating, numbing, like standing in a public place with dozens of people walking around, screaming at the top of your lungs only to realize no one can hear you. Then the guilt. People blame your depression or lose interest in you, so you have to smile and pretend you are okay so others are not inconvenienced. It is easier for people to share and like a video or quote about depression, but when it comes to actually being around someone with it, that is a whole other challenge. Losing interest in hobbies, music, videos, everything, so it becomes boring as well. Watching those videos titled, "I did not know," when in reality, everyone knows but just does not care until it affects them personally. Story 130. A lot of things. Mainly feeling a lack of energy to do anything. I just don't want to get up. It reminds me of the time when I had one of my traumatic brain injuries and was knocked unconscious. The moment when my brain finally rebooted like a computer that had its reset button pressed. I could hear people yelling and screaming around me, but it felt like an eternity lying there, feeling paralyzed, with no pain or discomfort from what had just happened to me or from the existence itself. Just lying there and hoping I would remain in that darkest void forever, and the screams and yells around me would stop. Complete apathy toward existence. Throughout the day, things need to get done, and I feel like an old man trying to walk as fast as I can. I do everything as quickly as possible, but still feel like one of the slowest beings. I remember the moment in Talladega Nights where Will Ferrell's character was driving his race car at the speed of a wheelchair and thought he was going fast. This is how I feel. At times, it is frustrating, but mostly I feel apathy and disconnection from everything and everyone. Meanwhile, internal fatigue accompanies me. Story 131. When I turn on the music, I realize it is just noise in my head. Then you begin to dance and happiness sets in. Story 132. When I turn on the music, I realize it is just noise in my head. Then you begin to dance and happiness sets in. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.